In this video, I'm sharing all the tips and tricks on how to make chicken flour, and I feel like I'm experienced because I've been making it since June 2023. Such a professional. The first major tip is never season your chicken before you make chicken flour. The reason is it is already pretty seasoned. It tastes like chicken seasoning and a little bit salty already, so you don't want to season it. We're going to be exploring two different ways to make chicken flour. One is the oven method and one is the microwave method. And this video is packed with loads of tips to help you be successful at home. The biggest thing about making chicken flour is to make sure it's dry, because it can go moldy if you don't have your chicken absolutely dry. Without further ado, let me take you through this process. My favorite way of making chicken flour is to have your chicken shredded in some way. You can purchase it like that, or you can run it through a food processor. You'll get really good ground chicken. I've also got my oven preheated to 320 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 Celsius, and I have 1 kilograms worth of chicken breast here. It equates to 2.2 pounds. I have a lined baking sheet here, and I'm just going to pour the chicken into the lined baking sheet and spread it. You want to spread your chicken evenly so that it bakes evenly, and that's also the reason why I am doing kind of a slow bake at 320 degrees Fahrenheit to ensure that the chicken, yes, cooks evenly. And after 45 minutes to 1 hour, it's time to change your chicken out. So I'll just show you what that is. The first thing you will notice is that it has shrunk considerably. That's why we're doing this whole experiment of seeing how much chicken flour we can make out of 2.2 pounds or 1 kg of chicken. Also, you will notice that your baking paper is quite wet, so I've got a new one here. You can drain it if you want to save on baking paper. All right, as best as you can, just transfer your chicken onto your new baking paper, and you want to flip it. What we're trying to do here is just get this chicken as dry as possible, and that's why we are baking it on the other side. Now, originally I baked it for 45 minutes to 1 hour. Mine went for about, say, 55 minutes. You can gauge it on your own to see whether your chicken has browned as such. Now you will need less time to bake because it is already cooked part way through, so you're going to need about 30 minutes for your second bake. Okay, and this is what your chicken should look like. It's important to let it cool first, because now we're going to grind this up in a blender. Break up your chicken and then add it to your blender container. One tip is don't overfill your blender container, because you need room for everything to grind down. And once you have ground all your chicken, it should look like a coarse grain at this stage. It's going to feel a little bit warm from your blender possibly, but it is definitely still going to be wet. So we need to bake this again. Okay, this is how I have got my chicken. I have tried to lay it down as evenly as possible, and I've got like the big clumps out in, like, it's okay if there's little clumps, it's fine, because we're still going to grind it after we dry this chicken flour out a little bit more. Okay, I normally do this step right in the oven. But all you do is just mix this all up, and what you're doing is you're making sure that the underneath layer of the chicken flour is also getting aired out and drying out. Just mix this all up and then I level it out again. It is super important to make sure that your chicken has dried out, because if you have any moisture in there, you run the risk of your chicken actually spoiling and perhaps going moldy. Right, back in. Okay, I need to give you the timings for drying out your chicken flour. When I put it in after it was ground, it went for 45 minutes. Obviously, we flipped it and mixed it up again, and then I went for another 45 minutes. And then it turns out to be this golden color, which is what you're looking for. That means that your chicken flour is actually dry and ready to grind further. One really good tip that I can give you is it's important that after you've ground it to sift your chicken flour, because you're always going to get those grains that aren't going to pass through a sifter. So sift away. The other thing I do is, like I said, you'll get a bit of grains that won't pass through a sifter. I just add it back to the pile that I'm going to grind again, just to maximize the amount of chicken flour that I can get out of one batch. Somebody was actually saying it smells really good, like a high-end chicken. And to answer the question, how much does 2.2 pounds or a kg of chicken make? How much chicken flour does it make? That is 250 grams. That's what I've got. If you want a really easy and quick method to make chicken flour and you don't mind using the microwave, consider Chef Fat Grams' microwave method. He gets chicken flour done in 10 minutes. It's actually brilliant if you don't mind using a microwave. Please subscribe to his channel. I've also left a link in the description box for you because he does give other tips. For the microwave method, you're going to need paper plates, paper towel to cover while you're microwaving, a blender, and I'm using 500 grams of cooked chicken. Now, I highly recommend, if you're going to use this method, use rotisserie chicken, right? It's so easy and you're cutting out a step. So don't overfill your blender when you're doing this. You want to give your chicken room to expand. All right, when you add your chicken to your paper plate, you want to break it up as fine as you can get it. And once you've broken it up into little pieces, you want to flatten it a bit so it does cook a little bit evenly. Cover with the paper towel and microwave for 2 minutes if you have a 700 watt microwave, and it's about 15 to 20 seconds less if you have a 1000 watt microwave. Okay, so this is what your chicken flour will look like. Notice your paper plate is wet. That means this chicken is wet. You need to keep drying it out, right? So transfer it to another paper plate because you don't want that in your chicken flour. And yeah, again, we are just drying this chicken out just to make sure that there's no moisture left. Okay, your chicken flour is ready once your plate is dry and it's actually quite crunchy, so no moisture in there. I'm going to keep going until all my chicken has been converted to chicken flour. And one of the last steps is to grind this crumbed version of your chicken flour. The last step is you want to sift your chicken flour. Just make sure that you're getting a fine flour, and you might need to grind up a little bit more depending on how much, large crumb you get. And then to answer the question, how much does 500 grams of chicken breast using the microwave method, how much chicken flour does that yield? 180 grams. According to our calculations, the microwave method will yield you more chicken flour than using the oven method. However, I do feel that you get a finer grain using the oven method, and it is my preference to use the oven method because it feels like I'm losing less nutrients as opposed to the microwave. Let's talk about storage. I like to store mine like this in Ziploc bags, but I have used airtight containers as well. Regardless of the method that you use to make your chicken flour, it's actually not as difficult as you think. Once you get into the rhythm of making your chicken flour, either microwave or oven, it's about changing out your baking paper or your paper plates as quickly as you can. And once you do that, you'll find that it's pretty easy and it goes quickly. In conclusion, the major tips are: never season your chicken flour or your chicken breast when making chicken flour. Make sure that your chicken is completely dried out before sifting and storing. And I do find starting off with smaller pieces of chicken like ground chicken or stripped chicken, those cuts work really well in terms of getting an even bake and your chicken cooking through properly. Well, at the very least, I hope that you feel armed and dangerous and that you can make chicken flour at home successfully. I've been doing this for so long now, it's over a year, and I do find the process pretty easy. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and be well.